that note, let's welcome the beautiful Nichelle Scott. Hello, Nichelle. Now I'm going to give you some advice this morning before we even get started.
I know what you're going to say.
That window
But
behind
this is where my
you.
computer is, and I have a whole wall of windows. I don't know how
Oh,
much.
really?
Is
Is
that
there not a
better?
you can't pull down a blind or anything?
That is with the blinds
That's
down.
with the blind? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Girl, if I was
Let
working
me
at
see if I can.
CUC, I'm going to tell you that's not an energy efficient room. Too much light coming into that room.
I don't think I'm south-facing, so I'm okay. How is that?
Yes, that's better. It just
Okay.
blows you out having that super white background and
I was
stuff.
trying to have an angelic halo, you know?
Yes. So listen, Nichelle has been on the program before. I don't think she really requires any introduction, but how long have you been with CUC now, Nichelle? It's been a long time.
I think 16 years now.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I like that CUC actually is a good company to work for. I think a lot of people would love to work there. I think, I see sometimes they're advertising positions and they're like good jobs. The salary is really good. And you guys seem to treat people. I know you're not in charge of HR, but I'm just saying you guys seem to really treat people well. Like people don't tend to want to leave CUC once they come. Now I know that since I've seen you last, you guys have lost some of your family members. I know you consider your coworkers family. And so I want to, first of all, before we get into the meat and potatoes of why you're here, just extend my condolences to you and all of the CUC team on those tragic losses.
Thank you so much, Sandy. That's really appreciated.
Yeah. We know it's tough. But listen, you guys are in the line of fire yet again. And I got to give you some props and some credit for right away saying, listen, we're here. We're coming on the show. We want to address people's questions. We want to talk about it. I think that requires a degree of just gumption, like you're not running and hiding in the corner and pretending like you're not seeing the complaints that are out there. And so some people are very, very vocal about the increase in their bills. And you know what? After I put out, we've been talking about it here in the program since Monday, talked about it a little bit yesterday. I've had so many people message me to say, well, my bill went down. And I kind of chuckled to myself because I'm like, here's the irony of it. Say 40% of the people had an increase, 60% stayed the same or went down. The 60%, although they're in the majority, they're not the ones who are going to get on social media and say, look, my bill went down by $200 or whatever. Can I tell you something? This lady posted in the Women in Keyman group about her $1,900 bill, almost $2,000. I think that's multiple months and she never said that, but whatever. Somebody else posted a really, really good post about these are all of the things that I've done, and I actually saw a decrease in my bill. So when I went back to read that on the show, I couldn't find the comment. And the person DM'd me and said, I took it down because I don't want CUC to do that and then find a reason to increase my bill.
No.
I was like, so tell me something. Is CUC out there trolling people on social media? And if they say I had a decrease in my bill, are you guys like little trolls doing something with the meters to increase it if someone had a decrease? What's going on?
No, I will say though that we do monitor social media. We see the comments. We see the feedback. So, that's why we're here. For example, like that's why I'm here this morning, because we know there are concerns, we know there are questions. So, but we don't adjust the bills. The bills are purely about your consumption. And that's something we've been doing because we recognize it's not something that's visible. It's not tangible. It's really hard for you to find a way to be like, okay, well, let me just fix this and this will stop it. It's hard to do that when you can't see what is consuming the electricity.
Right. And, the last time I think you were on here, we talked about some of the tools, and you might be getting into them again this morning in your slides that will help you to see what you are consuming. But I'm even flabbergasted, to be honest, Nichelle, that people complain about their bills. And I have a challenge out there, and I'm going to maintain this challenge. I got some money to give away. It's your anniversary month. We just celebrated our 6th anniversary. So I'm giving anybody who can show me their last 2 bills that had an increase and they're unhappy and they're complaining, to show me their usage and show me where your usage has decreased, but your bill has increased. $150 I will pay towards your CUC bill. So the challenge is still out there. I told Miss Sue, she hasn't gotten back to me yet. Go look at your bill. And she's like, oh, I haven't checked the usage. How can you even think about complaining about your CUC bill? Let's look at this, right? As an example. How do you complain about your CUC bill if you don't even know what your usage is? Like, how is that possible? Like, to me, Nichelle, this just makes me go, huh? Like, let's look at this person. This person sent it in when I was having the conversation. And they said, Sandy, this is my usage. As we can see, their usage in June went down.
That's impressive because June was really hot.
Yes.
Really hot. So they made some significant efforts. And, one of the comments that we see a lot, Sandy, is, oh, I went on vacation and my bill went up. So I will say that one of the things we find out a lot when we ask customers questions, we say, well, did you leave the air conditioning on? Well, they're like, yes.
Wow. So they were cooling an empty house.
Gone away. Correct. It's cooling an empty house. So you're still going to have, a higher bill if that AC is on constantly while no one is there, right? Yeah. So there are a couple little things that, and it's just a matter of knowledge, right? There are things that people don't realize, and I've had to educate myself on it so that we can share it with the public. And so it's just a matter of learning what impacts your overall consumption. And
this is this person's bill. Yeah. And when you ask questions like, okay, what's your square footage? Like, there's so many questions and so many factors that can impact your bill. This is me here, and I went down as well between May and June, but I was actually away for like a week in June. So to me, this makes sense for a week of like less usage, basically. But listen, I'm the first to say, look at my usage from June of last year. I'm still down from last year. And look at July. July last year was a heavy use month for me. So, I accept that I'm actually very much on the higher end of things. Like, I'm a high end user, and I still don't have a $2,000 bill.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot. We'll get into all the details here, folks, but I think there's a lot that people can do. Now, before you came in, we had a question from, oh gosh, let me see who that was, that said she didn't get her bill. So let's address some of these kind of little things. If someone doesn't receive a bill, let me try to find that message again. Yes. Diania, I think that's how her name is pronounced, Marie, says that she hasn't gotten her bill.
Okay.
So who can she contact, or anybody who's listening who doesn't get a bill?
They can contact service@cuc.ky, or she can sign up for My CUC, where your bills always load online every month. In fact, some of my friends prefer it because they say it loads on there before it's even emailed, and they're correct, because that's basically the record system. But she can just email service@cuc.ky and ask for someone to resend it. Now, sometimes what happens is that an email provider may change their settings, and all of a sudden, even though you've been receiving our bills consistently, all of a sudden that email provider starts blocking. We had that issue with Yahoo. We've had that issue with I can't remember one other provider, and we had to make changes behind the scenes and actually reach out to the providers to say, hey, what have changed, please let us know. And then we also have to tell our customers, make us a safe sender, basically go in there and say, don't put this to junk.
Yeah. Sometimes these things happen in email. I've noticed last 2 days, for some bizarre reason, I'm not getting some of my emails in my inbox. Like, I'm seeing them because I actually have a preview app where I can reject emails to reduce spam and stuff. I'm seeing them there, but then they weren't coming in my inbox, which was kind of weird. So I've had my web guy looking at that, but these things happen. For the last month, I wasn't able to send to Gmail for some reason. I had to contact my provider for some change to be made. So if you don't get your bill, folks, just to be clear, you can contact CUC directly by email, or, as Nichelle said, the best option is maybe to sign up for their online service, where you can always go there and have a look at your bill as well. All right. So Leroy is talking about timers. We're going to talk about some of the very, very specific things that you can do. Vanessa, I'm curious about this. Vanessa says that hers went up by $100, but she knows why. So Vanessa, we're curious. Why did it go up? What were you doing this month? How useful are timers? I mean, timers you can put on things like a hot water tank, which I think hot water tanks are a complete waste of time. Listen, if you have a traditional hot water tank, right? Basically, what happens is that self heats itself every so often, and nobody's using the hot water. It's just ridiculous. Get yourself a tankless water heater. That means that they don't store any water. They don't store, and the only time they activate is when you turn it on and you request the water to be warm. Other than that, you're not wasting, but if you can't afford to replace that, it's still working good, because sometimes you want to wait till something stops working before you replace it for economic reasons. That makes good sense. However, the money that you're wasting on an appliance being inefficient can be costing you a lot of money. So the alternative is to get a timer. And I think they sell them at all the hardware stores. Put a timer on it where you can set it, you know what? Only heat this water at 6 o'clock in the morning from like 6 to 8 or whatever period of time that you take your showers, and you're going to want some warm water.
And if you have a pool as well, your pool pump should be on a timer. So Sandy, when we last visited, we talked about the fact that we were doing this audit program. We were using the Emporia. You mentioned you have it, and we said, hey, anyone can actually access the Emporia. And what we found, top users, that's AC. I'll say it over and over again. Air conditioning is 50% or more. It's typically like 60. And pool pumps. So a lot of time, pool pumps, people that do have pools, they're running constantly. If you're on a strata and you're managing that and you're trying to get that cost down, that's a big one as well. So in regards to timers, it really depends on the appliance. So for example, you don't want to put a timer on your gaming computer, which is also a really big energy user. I don't know about anyone else. I have a teenager at home who is basically on his gaming computer like constantly, unless I make him stop, and he wants to auto click. So it's on even when he's not sitting there. That actually uses a lot of energy as well. But timers for items like water heater, your pool pump, anything that you can actually control that flow can work. Yeah. And smart thermostats for your air conditioning.
Wow. Okay.
Been asking about the bills jumping in June. I shared an image with you, Sandy. It's like slide 4.
Yeah, let's go through some of the slides. And we do have someone who has sent me their bill, and I do want us to dissect some of these as well. So this person says that they think that their usage went down, but their bill still went up. But I need to see, hold on, they've sent me their bill. So I'm going to just have a little look while we're analyzing this. No, you're not paying more. So, okay. So I think this person was going to take me up on my challenge, but listen, I got part with $150 so easy. Now, I'm going to be looking at the details, because I was about to say, oh, I owe you $150. No, I don't, honey child. Let me break it down now. So, they had their last bill was $302, right? Your current bill is $265. So your bill has gone down along with your usage. Here's the other thing you got to pay attention to, folks. This is why I always say, look, the devil is in the details. What do you think? Anybody can guess. I got a Foster's gift certificate. If you can have a look at why this person might be paying a little bit more, I want you to think about the reasons, because I want y'all to start putting your thinking cap on about why that could possibly be the case. Well, you actually had an overpayment. I'm just going to give you guys the answer on this one. She actually had an overpayment on her bill. So I'm not trying to disclose her information, so I'm purposely cropping out all that stuff. But she actually had an overpayment on the last bill. So the last bill was $302.94. She actually had an overpayment. She paid $350, so she had a credit of $47.06. So that credit was applied.
But her last bill amount was $302, and her current charges are $312. So something looks a little off there. I'll take a look because the consumption you showed
because if she had a credit, where's the credit being applied? Oh, the credit is being applied to the 312.
Correct.
Bring it down to 265. Oh, that's why she has. Okay.
But what's missing from that display is her deposit interest as well, if she has any. I'm not.
This could be one of those that requires, and it didn't fluctuate by much, to be honest, right? So 943 kilowatts versus 932. It's almost the same, but it is down slightly.
Take a look for sure.
Yeah. So this one looks interesting. I'm gonna have her send the previous month's bill. Okay. Well, I'm gonna send this to you because she said last month she paid $302. This month it was $312. Again, not a significant difference.
Can you show the bottom piece, please? The piece that shows the number of days she was billed for each month.
Oh, is that on here?
It's below the dollar amount. So
hold on. Let me have a look now.
Where the kilowatt hours are.
Okay, so below the she was billed for 30 days.
And what was she billed for the prior month?
That's a good question. Let me ask. So it's either going to be 30 or 31 days.
I don't know. But yeah, so but it's still the consumption. I'd like to take a look at this one to get understanding.
All right, let's see if we can find out how many days, because that really does matter then, for sure.
But really, what should matter is the total kilowatt hour consumption multiplied by the rates. So I need to see in totality what's going on.
Okay. All right. So last time it was from April the 30th to the May 31st. It was 31 days. And her kilowatt consumed was 943 at 0.1235. And then the new bill is 30 days, 932 kilowatts at 0.128. So
the fuel cost has gone down to the 0.178, right?
It's gone down to 0.128. Oh, sorry, the fuel cost, that was the energy, sorry. Fuel is no, that's fuel duty. Fuel is 0.178 versus 0.191. It's the fuel cost.
Yeah, but it should have gone down. So that's why if she's getting 0.191 and going, well, I don't want to take.
Yeah, I'll send these to you and you can look at hers a little bit closer.
Yeah, because if she's going from 0.19 to 0.17, there should be a decrease. So let me have a look, please.
Yeah, I'll send you those and you can examine those a little bit closer. But this is why, take your time, folks, and actually look at your bill. You might pick up on something that isn't right. But just looking at the total, I think my point really is just looking at the total amount is not how you do it. Okay, the devil is in the details. All right. So Gareth says that it should decrease during the winter months because the AC would run less if it's set at the same temperature. And that's very much true. All right, let's go through some of your slides here, Nichelle. Summer's here. First of all, this is the hottest recorded summer on record. I think we need to pause for a minute and understand what that means, even in terms of our energy consumption. I got to tell you, at night, last night, my daughter said it's hot. and the AC was set where it's always set. But it really is hot and it feels hotter. And so I'm finding that at night, I'm automatically dropping the AC lower because the temperatures are higher.
Well, I learned something interesting while I was doing my research on air conditioners. And I learned that they basically say if you lower the indoor temperature to be beyond 15 degrees from what is outside,
Mm-hmm.
air conditioner stops being efficient. It basically can't cool much more than 15 degrees difference. And we've been seeing
Hmm.
outdoor temperatures of, as high as 98 in the high at 90s, so that has been, when you think about that, work that backwards, right? You're looking at 85, 83,
Mm-hmm.
82 in terms of
But
where
wait a
it's.
minute. Let me understand what it is that you just said to me.
Mhm.
If you are okay, say that again because my brain is trying to process what you just said. Your air conditioning can only cool within a 15-degree temperature difference of what? Say what? I'm not
So
sure.
basically they're saying, like, so let's use 100 degrees for an example, right? If
Mhm.
you try to cool inside for anything more than 15 degrees less than what it is outside,
Mhm.
you're looking at your air conditioning basically kind of stalling and just running constantly, because beyond that it gets to be inefficient for the air conditioner to try to cool beyond that. So they call it the 15-degree difference.
Hmm.
Yeah, that
Wow.
was new to me. I've just been doing a lot of reading, trying to share my knowledge. And yeah, so you're looking
Wow.
at your air conditioner getting less efficient as you get to the 15 degrees.
Wow. Hmm. Okay. That
Yeah,
certainly, if you let that sink in, that says a lot. So dropping it down to 60 when it's like 100 degrees outside probably isn't going to matter.
that means your air conditioner is probably like on non-stop, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's not probably cooling beyond a certain level. You check that thermostat, it's probably still saying like 78 degrees
Yes.
because it can't go any cooler than that. It's working really hard.
Wow. Blackberry has a question. She says running your AC all the time at the same temperature versus turning it off while out, say, just using it in the evenings. Does either method make a significant difference? We've had this question before.
Yes, so it does make a significant difference.
Mhm.
And it really also depends on your house, but for the most part, turning your air conditioner off will lead to greater savings. So it makes more sense to turn it off when you're out and then turn it back on when you're in, and keep it no lower than 78 degrees when you are home. Now, I've had feedback from customers saying, well, that leads to mold. What leads
Mhm.
potentially is if you have an oversized air conditioner and it works really hard to cool really quickly, and then that leads to condensation. So it's all about also making sure you have the right size air conditioner and you're getting it serviced and checked. You're getting that drain pan drained. All of those elements go together, but in terms of cost, turning it off is what makes the biggest difference. Leaving it on, especially if it's the same temperature that you use while you're living in there, is not ideal. If you don't want to
Mhm.
turn it off because you're worried about the mold situation, turn it up to 89, 90 degrees. That's still keeping it cooler than outside. Um, and that helps to kind of regulate the temperature. But
Mhm.
definitely don't leave it at the same temperature all day long. Please, please, please don't do that unless there's someone there that you need to do that for.
Mhm. All right. So, good advice. Just turn it off when it's not in use. Okay. Cameron says we grew up without AC and hot water and bills still out of control. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I did not grow up without AC and without water. I'm not going to front. I'm not going to lie. I am not that kind of person who can take cold showers. Sorry, but not sorry. So, every time I go to Jamaica and they're like, oh, look at these beautiful cold showers. I'm like, what? Hot water, please. Miss Dorothy is watching us from Florida. Ingrid says, I'm a CUC Connect warrior. It works amazing at keeping track. Is that in one of her slides? Because I do want to go through.
It is.
Okay.
Sandy, so I was looking at the ones that you sent me on in terms of the builds. Could you share those two side by side again, but without showing the customers information?
Yeah. All right. Let me hold on. I think I didn't all right, hold on one second. Let me grab the
because the current charges on this one looks different. Maybe I was seeing it incorrectly, but it looks like it's going from 322 to 312. So the bill did go down.
Yeah, I think the credits is where she seems to always be overpaying. So there's like a balance being brought forward.
Yeah, but her current charges went from $322 in May to $312 in June.
So it did go down.
Yeah,
you know what I think it is? Okay, I think she's looking at, and I probably made the same mistake.
It's because we were looking at the balance brought forward. So the last bill amount does not equate to the last amount charged.
Okay.
It equals the last balance on that bill, which included her overpayment. So we were only looking at the balance brought forward on the last bill amount. But if you look, if you show the two bills side by side, it went from 322.
All right, hold on. I'm just hiding her I'm hiding her address. So give me 1 second. I don't want to compromise who this customer is. So I'm going to yep, I think I did that right. Hold on 1 second. Let me just save this one. And then we can, so this one is the May bill. All right, so let's pull this one up. Hold up 1 second here. Okay.
But you know what? Kudos to her for overpaying each time, just trying to make sure.
Yes. All right, so that's May. So break it down for us so we can.
Where it says total current charges at $322.89. That is the May bill. So her total due is being impacted by her credit balance forward of $19.
Okay. Yes. All right. So her total there was $322.89. Okay. All right. Now hold on. Let me just get this other bit here. Oh no. Hold on. Somehow I've managed to forgotten how I did the other one. Hold on. I think I'm getting it. No, still not that one. Hold on.
That's okay. I know you're trying to not share her.
I'm like, what feature did I just use?
Or her name, and that's there.
I know. All right, so let me see. I think it's this bit here. Oh, yes. Okay, so we can hide her address this way. All right, perfect. Okay. So, all righty. Let me save this one, and then we're going to look at the new bill. So this is the June bill. All right. And so now June, I can't do side by side quite on the fly, but this is June. So the total for June is 312.
Yep.
May was 322. So it is cheaper.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So up at the top,
not significantly because her consumption is very, very, very
about the same.
Similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the credit where it says balance brought forward, that credit up at the top, that gets reduced after between the 322 and the 302. That's where that difference is.
That's right.
I see. Okay. I think that's what I was looking at, the wrong number there as well.
We were looking at the last bill amount at the very top and thinking that was, but then realized that there was a credit balance on the previous bill as well. And that's what was throwing us off.
So she did go down. Okay.
Yeah, she did.
See,
but she has a consistent credit balance. So kudos to you for trying to ensure that your credit history is always excellent. So that's fantastic.
All right. Well, that one is explained. Okay. We're solving mysteries here today, Jam. Okay, very good. Let me see, Miss Dorothy. So let's go through the slides because we want to talk about things like the Connect Warrior and
Yeah.
how that can be helpful as a monitoring tool. So the one of the driving costs, a significant driver on your bill is the actual fuel costs. So
Yes.
I'm not showing it here, but my bill, I was saying this yesterday, some $500 of my $700 bill is actually fuel factor. That's the
Yeah.
fuel.
And that's why we are, well, Sasha's come on quite a few times to talk about how we're working towards utility scale solar. The regulator has talked about issuing a request for proposal. I don't know if the public is aware, but the regulator has to issue a request for proposals, and then we can submit, because it is a competitive process. I think the public's always saying, well, there should be competition, but it is a competitive process for us to submit a bid on doing utility scale solar. So that's one of the reasons we're waiting to do that. We're waiting for the regulator to give us the go ahead. And we know that will help to offset these fuel costs. Have a lot of diesel engines. So we are working to try to have more solar on the grid, but you will see July's fuel cost is going to be 16.7 cents versus the 17.8 in June. So your customers will see a decrease again in July in terms of the fuel cost. But I really, really, really want everyone to understand that July is hotter than June. So if you can skip forward to outdoor temperature, which is 2 slides forward, there is a slide that shows what the typical temperature is like outside in Cayman. So you see this, so the yellows, we're all happy. We've got what we call our Christmas breeze. We've got our windows open. I hope you all have your windows open. Like, let's enjoy that breeze. The orange months, May, it's really starting to ramp up. June, so that's why we're hearing so many people saying, oh my goodness, I thought May was bad, June is worse. Yeah, July is actually when it starts to peak. So between July and September, those tend to battle it out for our hottest months. And if you see over on the side, we're at 86. We're at 86 degrees for June and 84 for May.
And so what traditionally tends to be the hottest month of the year? Is it July or August?
It's typically September.
September. What?
Yeah, but people actually don't see it as much in their bills, especially if they have a family where so we hear less complaints from families because their children are back in school. So typically the higher consumption is June, July, August. We're more July and August. June is because everyone is still remembering, what summer heat does to consumption. So it's like, oh my goodness, I forgot how powerful the summer is on our air conditioning load. And so everyone starts adjusting again in terms of managing that consumption, right?
Yes. Let's look at some questions about the heat, child. Juliet says, hi, Sandra. It's so hot outside that almost all of my wood blinds look like sea waves. So to help with keeping the house cool, I'm going to tint my windows. Now, window tinting, Juliet, believe it or not, is a great idea. I've done it. When we first moved into this house, I was so excited. I'm like, oh, look, I love this house. And, I didn't realize at the time how many windows this house has. It has a lot of windows. But when we moved in, the one in particular, this is so random and so weird, but we bought this, energy tint, and it's also security film, everything into one. But the one window that I had to double up on, so double, cover it, was actually the front door. It wasn't even a window. It's the front door that has that window panel in it.
That's interesting.
We had it tinted. And it's still, you couldn't sit down in the living room and watch TV because the glare was so bad from the sun coming in. And that means direct heat in that room. So we had to tint it a second time. And I thought to myself, you see, when you're building a house and you're thinking about, what kind of door to get, what kind of windows to get, these are the aesthetic things. Like you think, oh, this door is pretty. Don't always go with pretty, go with practical. Because if there was no window panes at all in that door, That's less heat that's able to directly penetrate. All
But
right,
we
we
like
got a caller on the
sunshine
line.
too,
Sorry.
right? We also like sunshine. We like bright, airy houses,
Yeah.
right? So it's just about making sure that we choose the direction where you can let the light in without also letting in
Yeah.
significant heat.
Even things about what direction when you're building, if you are building, what direction to put your house is also really, really important. But we've got a caller in the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, and to the panel.
How are you?
I'm good enough. Blessings, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
I have to agree and disagree at the same time.
Okay.
The turning off of the AC, if you can afford it, just keep it on, because like your baseboards, your blinds and stuff, they will warp the corking that they probably use between the baseboards and stuff with the heat, expand and travel cool. So if you can keep it moderate, in that sense, I say keep your AC on. Then again, if you can afford it, with some of the building material, you turn your AC off. Like when you reach home, you'll feel like you're in a furnace. The AC, you turn the AC on when you come back home, what will happen? Your AC will sometimes double, quadruple the work time period. Just try to cool the building wall. And that can take you like probably early in the morning before you even go to bed. You feel the wall will still have that tremendous heat. So your panel, yes, I agree and then disagree. It depends on the building material, and if you some people say they use foam, your ceiling will have moles, this and that. It depends on what product or material they use, but it does work. It does work. You pay it. You will pay it off in the long run. That you will live comfortable. People must rise up, man, and even to go, save some money instead of going and party every day, so you can get that money.
Yes, for sure. Appreciate that call. Thank you so much, sir. Cameron says the devil's in details of everything. Well, yes, it does matter. Lavana says, I had on both the AC and fan and I woke up sweating. And no, it's not menopause. It was just too hot. So everybody's feeling the heat. Even Miss Morna says it's so hot that at night you can put your hands on the wall and you can feel the heat that packs into your walls. Very hot. It's concrete. I mean, this is a construction company, so Nichelle, you may not know this, but let's say you're thinking about building or purchasing a house. Is it better to have concrete walls versus sheetrock? Like, which one is a better conduit for heat?
Well, so a couple of things. I want to address the caller. The caller is correct, but if you're coming home to a furnace, it means your house is not properly insulated, and that's very concerning. That means your AC is working twice as hard when it is on. So I'm just going to put that out there. Secondly, as it relates to concrete walls versus sheetrock, it depends on how you use it. Obviously, I lived in a much older house before the one I have now, and the builder had concrete walls, and on the inside had put sheetrock on the inside over the exterior concrete walls to act as insulation. Right? But the concrete walls do tend to, the same way with tiles, it holds the coolness. Whereas, if it's a purely sheetrock, it doesn't hold the coolness as much, right? Obviously, I'm no expert, but that's on the basics.
Yeah. So Blackberry says my windows are tinted and it helps significantly as well. Yeah. Like I was saying, I didn't even think about it until when we started to kind of get settled in this house. I'm like, wow, every single room has a window. Some have multiple windows. That's a lot of windows. And it really did make a difference for sure. So Blackberry, having experienced that herself. Venice says that insulation is the key to having a cooler house. Also keep the AC filters clean.
Yes.
Yeah. So properly servicing your AC units is very, very important. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Hello.
When you're talking about energy, there are competing interests.
There are.
One is you want your house to stay there after a hurricane.
Well,
So it
yes.
it needs to be concrete, right?
Okay.
And then secondly, you want to be able to afford your bill, your electricity bill.
Yes.
Well, how do you do those two things by having proper insulation?
Mm-hmm.
People put foam on the outside. One of
Mm-hmm.
the problems of putting foam on the outside is that woodpeckers put holes in it all the time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The
Ooh, honey child.
so
Now you're talking to me.
so one way you can get the best of both worlds is put the foam on the inside instead of the outside.
Put foam
Of
on the
course,
inside.
yeah. Like,
Okay.
in other words, you put in what you would normally do is you'd lay the foam onto the wall on the outside, but you could also put it on the inside, because what is causing heat is that when the sun strikes the concrete, the heat is absorbed. And if you don't have insulation on the inside of your wall, then when the sun sets, that the temperature in the room is different is now cooler than the temperature in the wall. The
Mm-hmm.
heat is going to leave the wall and go into your room. But if you
Mm-hmm.
have the installation on the inside of the wall, you
Mm-hmm.
keep as much heat outside of your living space as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there's no way to get around the fact that you need to have good installation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you're at. You're gonna spend your money on energy keeping the room cool,
Mm-hmm.
or you're gonna spend some money on insulation and in the long run save because you're burning less energy.
Hmm. Okay. This age-old question, Denny, about whether or not it's better to turn things off when they're not in use, like the AC, for example, when you're not home, versus keeping it at a higher temperature. What has your research found? Because Sophia says
Yeah.
turning it off and on now makes your bill go up because it takes more energy to cool the house out again. I find when I come home, I
That
turn it on at 77. When I leave in the morning, I put it at 79.
well, that is because you don't have proper insulation. But if you did have proper insulation, the differences would be less. Because what you're trying to do is, if you're gonna cool a place to move a temperature, let's say 10 degrees difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that hot and you need to cool it down by 10 degrees. Well, if you had insulation, would the difference be as much as 10 degrees or would it be less? And if it's going to be less, then obviously it's going to take less energy to cool the place.
Mm-hmm.
So leaving it on, yes, will cost more, even if you had a perfect situation where you had perfect installation. Running the AC for 4 hours versus running it for 2 hours is going to cost you more,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But having said all of that, I don't turn my AC off at all. I'm home a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and
Thanks, Denny.
I keep I keep it at a reasonable temperature.
Okay.
It's not 60 degrees. No,
Mhm.
it's just comfortable.
I turn mine off when I'm not here. I'm like, what am I cooling a house for? I just turn it off.
Me too.
I don't find that it takes that long to cool down in any event when I get home. So I turn it off during the day.
Yeah.
Most days even sometimes when I'm here, I find that I don't necessarily need it. So I turn it off.
And if it does take a while to cool down, you can use a smart thermostat and have it set up to turn on about like an hour and a half
Before you get home.
Yeah.
But I'm mostly at home, so it's
Right.
like,
That's right. That's right.
if someone is going to out to work, then obviously yes, turn it off. But I'm mostly at home, so that's
fair.
What I do.
That's fair.
All right. So I've gotta thank you so much, Denny. We appreciate it.
And one
Yes.
more thing. You see how you were talking about tinting the windows?
Yes.
The reason why that's important is the same reason why the walls get hot. When the sun comes through the window and strikes the tile absorbs the heat until the sun sets, and then it begins to radiate heat, heating the room.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
it's the same problem.
All right. Thanks. We appreciate it. According to McGowan's Heating and Air Conditioning Company, they say they're going to try to answer this age-old question for us. Does it use less money to turn your AC off? And they say, first of all, it's important to dispel the myth that your AC will have to work so hard to cool your home back down that it ends up costing more to shut down your air conditioning. So they're saying that that's a myth. They said that simply is not how AC systems work. Your AC runs at the same speed, regardless of what temperature it is. To cool your home down more, it simply runs a little bit longer. That means that if you left your AC on all day, it would switch on and off frequently to maintain a cool temperature. Meanwhile, if you only turn it on in the evenings, it will run steadily for a few hours instead of switching on and off several times. Ultimately, the time spent turning on and off adds up. Your AC will eventually run longer overall if it is left on all day instead of being shut off. If you turn it off a part of the day, it runs less and results in more energy savings for you. So take it from the AC experts, McGowan's. Basically, they're saying turning it off saves you money. And the myth that it has to work harder is just that it's a myth.
Yep, there's an article on Good Housekeeping as well, Sandy, if customers want to go and research it, that basically says the same thing. And I don't know if you remember, but Good Housekeeping got its roots from testing appliances. That's where the magazine actually came from.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a good article on that same topic that speaks in a very detailed manner, that saying turning it off does lead to decreased energy consumption.
And here's the interesting thing in this article, which I had to shake my head at. They say that in almost all cases, it will save you money to shut your AC off when you're away from home. However, some cities charge more for electricity used during peak hours, which is usually between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. What?
Yep. So there's actually a reason for that. So, for example, for us, when the most electricity is used by Grand Cayman, it's actually around 6 or 7 p.m. That's when the offices are still on, but people are still going home and turning on their lights and turning on their air conditioners. And so you have this duplication of load, so to speak, because the offices are still very much functioning. So that's when our company is producing the most electricity. So to try to manage that, a lot of electricity companies will say, well, during this time, it costs the most for electricity because it also costs us the most, right? And that gives a price signal. So customers try to use less electricity during that time. And that leads to it being easier for the electricity company to manage how much the electricity they have to produce at that specific time. The load times differ for each location.
Well, look at that. The things that you learn every single day. I had no idea there are places in the world that would charge me more depending on the time of day.
Yep. And I noticed Vanessa still had a question, I think, on the bill. So I don't know if afterwards we can post the two snippets side by side without the personal details, so that everyone can kind of view those on their own.
Yeah. Okay. We got another caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning to you and everybody that's listening, your panel.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
The question that I have is, where is the benefit for the customer? And I'll explain the reason why I asked the question. Based on what you guys are talking about now, especially what they're saying about the times a day that the energy is costing more. And versus they say, keep your air condition clean and service. The air condition companies are saying minimum, not maximum, minimum $175 every so often to service your air conditions. So where price up air conditioning, price up, where is the benefit for the customer?
Benefit to do what? When you say
as far as a savings to the customer, or a customer seeing where they can continue some kind of normalcy in with the hot months and trying to keep more cooler in the hot months and stuff versus the whole year round where you're spending, just say for example, if your bill is at $600 each month, where is the benefit for you as far as the customer, as far as to paying the high cost of maintaining your air condition versus paying the high cost of the monthly bill? I mean, I think that there should be balance out there, because they're saying that, you know, if you service your air condition properly, the bill not to be so high. But then that's not, I don't see where that kind of being true either, because the bill is still high.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why you want to service your AC, and energy efficiency isn't the only one. I mean, for health reasons, you want to ensure that your AC is being serviced in any event, right? And regular servicing of air conditioning units mean that you can catch things early on. So if you have like a freon leak or something else going on that really makes your unit inefficient and might even mean that your unit is going to be dying relatively soon, I think by having it serviced, you kind of get ahead of some of those things. So it's like anything else. I mean, maintenance, not just for the purposes of your CUC bill, but maintenance is important. That's like saying, you know, what's the benefit of servicing your car? Well, you service your car so that you can keep it in tip-top condition, mean that you're going to have the car longer, you're going to catch issues perhaps early on. And yes, it might be more energy efficient if your spark plugs are changed regularly and filters are changed and all that kind of stuff. So it's one of the benefits, but it's certainly not the only benefit, right? But I think that the point that is being made here right now with this particular slide is that the outdoor temperatures, particularly during the summer months, but in this year in particular, are so outrageous. And as temperatures increase because of global warming or whatever we're going to be blaming it on, there's no doubt that temperatures are increasing and they're reaching new highs that we have never seen in our lifetime before. So if you and I have never experienced this type of heat, our appliances have likewise never experienced this type of heat. And so they're having to work harder than perhaps they were even designed to work when you think about it.
Quite possible.
Yeah. So, you know, we can only do so much with what we have. But I think the purpose of Nichelle being here and what CUC is doing is just saying, make sure that you are aware that there are things that you can do to be impactful. And it's not just one single thing. So it's not just servicing your AC unit. You know, I've talked about 6 or 7 things that we had to do moving into larger square footage house: tinting the windows, going with solar panels, some propane appliances, changing out all of our lights. Like there's like 6 different things that we've done to try to, and again, because I admit and I accept that I'm a high-end user, I've tried to do everything in my power to mitigate as much as possible what I'm going to be paying at the end of the day for my energy use. Yeah. All right. Every little bit helps, I think, is a takeaway. Thank you so much, caller. You too. Really appreciate it. Listen, it's a good question nonetheless. You know, he's wondering, I'm going to be doing this, this, and this. Is it really going to be worth it? So
and I just want to chime in, Sandy. I was one of those that was like, what's the point of this? I'm going to cost in terms of the maintenance. Well, my sheetrock ceiling fell in because my drain pan overflowed because I hadn't gotten it maintained. So you end up paying more sometimes if you don't maintain your appliances. So I had to pay for the sheetrock repair to the ceiling. This was in my younger, less knowledgeable days. So just that out there. But it does help.
I've had that happen too.
Yeah.
And then you got to repair sheetrock, and that's even more money that you really did not want to spend. Venice says just cover the outside blocks with 2 inch of foam, especially the east and the west. Again, it's always a balance between trying to be aesthetically pleasing and you know, implement these things that really do make a difference. So Sony says, good morning, K-Man. Seems no matter what you do, CUC is still murdering people. Oh my God, from $600 to $1,500. So again, Sony, sorry.
Can we ask that? Can we ask if $1,500 is 1 month? Because
is that a 1 month jump? And also, can we see your usage? Again, let's see. Send me, if you're right now, Sony, you can send me in WhatsApp 324-1612. Send me your actual bill, the one that's $600 and the one that's $1,500, and let's look at it, because again, the devil is in the details. So let's talk about this base rate increase.
Yep.
And what that means for consumers.
I'm also looking at Sony's, is it Sony's bill at the same time? So let's talk about the base rate. So as I think we've talked about it a couple of times now, that fuel, we add no markup to that. And, you know, I've watched your show, Sandra, talk about Business 101, when you've been talking about like grocery stores, etc. You know, there's a cost that the business has, and then there's additional in terms of margin for the company to make money and to employees and reinvest in the companies. A lot of people are like, well, what are you doing with those profits? We reinvest them. But fuel, we make no money on fuel. Zero. Zip. What?
It's just a pass-through expense.
That's right. So the base rate, we included
and can we pull it up here? Is it on here where I can actually see? This is my bill. So do we see where the base rate is on here?
So yeah, so it's basically the energy charge is
the 0.128 on this one.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And that is where CUC basically recovers its costs and earns enough money to reinvest. So every time you see our trucks out there, when you see us planting poles, when you see new developments coming online, and we have to put in new infrastructure, when there are hurricanes, I don't know if a lot of people are aware, but most insurance companies will not insure poles. In fact, no insurance companies will insure poles beyond a certain area. So basically within our plant can be insured, but around the island where the poles are, that cannot be insured. That cannot be covered by insurance companies. So when there's a storm, that is the cost that we incur to then perform repairs. So the base rate is where we recover those costs.
And let me say this, Nichelle, that's so interesting. And I learned that recently when I toured your plant, because I didn't know that. I mean, who thinks that you can't get insurance for like poles and stuff, right? So that's really, really interesting. But I recently, during the Easter break, was able to take a partial tour of your plant. And I see equipment. I see engines, and I see all this stuff. I actually got to see where some of the money is going for sure. That's not stuff like staffing and training and bonuses and all that kind of stuff. This is just equipment. When I toured the plant, safety mechanisms, you know, building up, since Ivan, the lessons that you guys have learned, building up your new, facility to Hurricane Cat 5 standards, but also elevating it so you don't have issues with flooding. And, you know, I was really surprised at how much CUC actually reinvests in the infrastructure part of the company. That was to me really, really impressive, because I thought to myself, every kid in Cayman should tour the CUC plant and understand this a little bit. Because what it demonstrated to me is you don't have equipment that's falling down and rusted. You guys are not taking chances with our life and our safety and a fire plant or a fire explosion, or, you know, this is top-notch equipment. My brother-in-law was with me, and he actually works at a cement plant in Jamaica, and he was so blown away. Jamaica, a big country, 3 million people. He was so blown away by the technology that CUC was utilizing, even in that room, I don't know if it's called the command center or what that room is, or where they're monitoring 24/7. Any little outages, any little thing on a line, and how now you guys can pinpoint it so incredibly precisely. I mean, that's like technology. And he was like, oh my God, can I take a picture of all these screens in this room? They're like, no. But it was like jaw-dropping what you guys actually do there. And I thought, maybe one of the reasons sometimes you guys get ridden a little bit hard is people don't even appreciate what CUC actually does. I was blown away. I was like, listen, y'all need to make me give a tour and record some of this so that people can get a glimpse, because Once you have that kind of understanding, if you've ever ran a business and you have to buy equipment, you have to invest in the business, you know that none of that comes cheap. And doing it at the scale at which CUC does it and keeping us in the 90-something percentile in terms of the uptime in our service, y'all would really appreciate things a little bit more. I'm just saying. All right, Natasha says, this is the cost of owning a house, expenses. And you know, Natasha, it's so interesting that you say that because, again, when we talk about money matters on this program, people go out there and like, oh, I want to, if I'm paying rent $1,200, why can't I get a house? I'm like, when you decide to upgrade and get a house, have you thought about all of these elements of you've got to service your own air conditioning units. You've got to, yes, it takes money. Like you've got to invest in your home and spend money in order to keep it running optimally. Evelyn says, I service my AC units every 3 to 4 months. Sophia says, no matter what you do, it will never change. And if you have kids at home all summer, you know what? That's why I don't keep my daughter at home. Sounds horrible, but I'm sending her to camp. Okay.
And it's harder to manage.
Games and the TV to be on, because when I'm here, I hardly ever have the TV on. I'll be honest with you. If she's here, oh no, the TV's got to be on, and then and we also need to teach her kids. She walks out of a room. We have the automatic lights, by the way. So in a lot of the rooms they turn off and on automatically, but some rooms it's not practical to do that. And I'm saying to her, hey, honey, you're going to be 6 in a couple weeks, 7, sorry. In a couple weeks, you can now reach the switch and turn off your lights in the morning. Turn off the light. Don't leave the water faucet. A couple times she's like, turn on the water and just walked away. I'm like, what are you doing? Turn these things off. It costs money. So a lot of times we don't teach our children like money sense, money management. Like they don't understand. She's almost 7. She was asking me this week, what's a bank account? I was like, oh Lord, we got some catching up to do. But, making them appreciate that you can't go in front of the refrigerator, open the refrigerator and stand there all day because you're paying for that. That's real talk, right? Have you guys ever seen this show called Extreme? Oh God, I forget what it is. Extreme Budget something. Like it's people who go to like a real crazy degree about trying to penny pinch and save money. Like they go and get the free ketchup and then pour it in their own little ketchup bottle. What's it called?
Extreme couponing?
No, this one is like, oh God, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like people who really are trying to save money. There was a guy, I'm going to see if I can find it because I actually recorded.
Most of my accounting part.
Yeah, I record Extreme. Oh, there we go. Ooh, Siobhan would know, child. She's on the budget list. Extreme Cheapskates is what it's called. And there was a guy who had a timer on the refrigerator, right? And it was 45 seconds, I think, that any member of his house for the day can only open the fridge for 45 seconds. And they can't go back in there. Like you take out what you need and that's it. And the kids were like, this is so hard. Of course, they want to open it up and be looking around the fridge. When they got 45 seconds to get in and out, they have to know what they're going in there for. It's crazy. But Extreme Cheapskates. Y'all check it out. These people take budgeting and saving to a completely new level. I'm gonna see if I can find that video because when I first saw it, I was like, this is crazy.
I wanted to address Albert's comment, please, Sandy, if we could.
Albert. Oh, CUC has the 6th highest in the world as per kilowatt hours and an average of 33 cents for residential customers. So he's trying to say CUC has the 6th highest rate in the world. Is that right?
I don't think that's correct. I'll verify it, but I will say to you, Albert, that in terms of, so we look at where we stand.
Is the kilowatt even correct? Because
he's averaging it out because it depends each month. It fluctuates each month. Okay. Right. And I don't know what currency he's using, whether he's doing US dollars, because if he's looking at a worldwide setting, it's probably like in US dollars. We track ourselves against the Caribbean. There is an institute called Carolec. You can Google it. They have all of their reports on the website. It's transparent. You don't need to take my word for it. And I will tell you, our Caymanian consumers actually are one of the highest residential electricity consumers in the Caribbean, but our rates are actually in the middle. And there's reasons for that.
What's the name of that website again, Nichelle?
Carilec.
Carilec.
C-A-R-I-L-E-C. It's for
C. Okay.
It's Caribbean Institute of Electricity.
Association of Energy Solution Providers. Okay.
Yes. And so everyone puts in their reports, and their reports are on there. They're transparent. In terms of our energy costs, we're actually in the middle. There are some things they do redact because obviously the goal is not for bashing. But I will say one of the reasons that we are the higher consumers is we don't have mountains, we don't have hills. A lot of the Caribbean counterparts get a lot of breeze, and we're relatively flat. So we rely on air conditioning way more than a lot of other Caribbean countries, right? So we just have to remember we're not always comparing apples to apples, but our rates do fall in the middle. So I'm not sure about that 6th highest in the world. I'd have to where that information is coming from, considering we fall in the middle for the Caribbean.
Yeah. And I was kind of mentioning this the other day too, about the dynamics of, like I was saying, in Jamaica, for example, I've just made a personal observation that a lot of homes don't require central AC because they do have the mountains, and, you know, depending on where regionally you are within Jamaica, it gets cooler at night and you can just turn on a fan and you're perfectly fine. Cayman, we flat and hot. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. Good morning, Nichelle.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi guys. Just giving a quick call in. CUC is not my favorite bill to pay, but I do pay. I'm a good debtor. I just wanted to tell Nichelle, first of all, thank you for coming on the front line and taking all those jobs. Well done. But more importantly, I just wanted to remind the community, particularly the Caymanian community, I find that we are a society that lives very much with no conservation in mind. I think it's throughout the entire fabric of society. Just as an example, we've had to put in place marine protection conservation laws. I don't think that we are a society that is extremely conscious of consumption on any level, be it food, water, electricity. I don't think that it's something that we really focused on. I will put my hand way up and say, I am a cheapskate. I am very conservative. And sometimes I will tell you, it does not in any way reflect, particularly in my CUC bill. I think I was fortunate this month that my bill went down $57, but I also know that I was like the light Nazi. I went around and I turned every light off, every fan off, like get it off, plug it out. It's not being used. So I have well, Sandra can probably attest to how very budget friendly that I am and how transparent that I am, particularly with my kids. I have 2 young kids, in terms of letting them know, listen, like if you want to do X or Y, if you want to do some social event, we're going to have to cut back on this bill. So that means that those 7-minute showers have to go down to 5. Those that you want to play on your iPad plugged in for 4 hours, it's going to have to be cut down to 2. And I think for me, it is, you know, there's something that we can all do to continue to combat and to reduce the cost. Now, I don't know. I also complain about my CUC bill, and I would complain about it if it was $10.
Yes. Well, at least you're being honest.
Yeah. I complain. It went down, but I complain that it didn't go down enough.
Right.
So, and that's it. And I just want to, remind everybody out here that there are things that we can do. I do have a small complaint. I think back in the day, my dad's a builder. So when I tell you I'm up to the time with what I can do and improve and blah, 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 my house is about 14 years old and stuff. So I had to do some changes in there to get a bit more energy efficient. But I heard somebody call in earlier and said that had LED light bulbs,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when I built my house all those years ago, my dad was a builder. He went out and he spent $400 on light bulbs.
Mm-hmm.
I never, but they were compact fluorescent light bulbs, and I still have some of those light bulbs still that they work. I started to change out each room to LED light bulbs, a room at a time, because they were so pricey. My bill went up. And I remember at one point, I think CUC, I remember CUC at one point saying, change all of your bulbs to LED bulbs. And then I would say this year, they put out something that said to change it to compact fluorescent lights, which was the $400 bulbs that my dad had bought way back in 2009. And can she clarify something on that? I just think that everybody can just do a little bit to kind of pay buy now and save later, is what I like to call it. And don't like when I did my bulbs, I did them one room at a time. Mind you, I had to go over and redo it after I realized that my bill had gone up significantly. And then I saw the article saying change to compact fluorescent lights. So I'm gonna
send you some information on this, and I'll share this in the comment section. There's a website called energysavingtrust.org out of the UK. This is a nonprofit website that gives you a lot of information on how to save, and they go through a whole history of the evolution of light bulbs and which ones are more energy efficient and what kind of percentage. So for example, compact fluorescent lamps, CFLs, were the first energy efficient bulbs on the market, and they use around 70 to 80% less electricity than the equivalent traditional bulbs, as well as lasting 10 times longer. So CFL bulbs have a gas inside a glass tube that is charged when with electricity until it glows. But then you've got the LEDs, which are the light emitting diodes, I think, and they have cells which are more efficient, even more efficient, and turn on instantly at full brightness and are available to fit pretty much any sort of lighting in home. LEDs produce light from the electricity flowing through them, and within a bulb, you'll find a larger number of LEDs to create sufficient brightness. So even the way in which they operate is completely different. But I'll send you some information on this because it has a whole thing here. If you switch to bulbs to LED, depending on the wattage, because it does matter, obviously. If it's 100-watt incandescent bulb, you're going to basically save £15, because it's a UK website, per bulb per year. And that's based on using a 1100 lumen bulb running for about 562 hours per year. Depend on the usage, obviously, and the wattage and stuff like that. So this website, Siobhan, I've just sent it to you on WhatsApp. That one's pretty good. GE Lighting also has a whole thing on a guide to energy efficient light bulbs that is pretty good, and it does explain the difference between them. But I think one of the things that people have to be cognizant of, it's one thing to switch to LED, which we did. I took out every single light fixture and switched to LED during our move-in process. But it's also another thing when lights are left on. And that's why some rooms, I have the timer on it. So you walk in, especially bathrooms, right? You walk in the bathroom, it's easy to forget to turn that light off, especially when you have kids. And so putting the automatic lights in certain rooms where they go off, and within those, when you add them to your little light switch, you can adjust how long it stays on for. So we have the shortest possible. It goes off. Sometimes you're sitting on the toilet and it goes off. That's when you hear, "Mommy, the light is off." And then I'm like, wave your hand and it'll come back on by motion, right? But I think that those also help, because kids will just walk out of a room and forget that the light is on. And 2 hours later, as a parent, you see it, you walk in there, and that's 2 hours. I mean, lighting, I think It helps, but it's not like you're going to save hundreds of dollars. I don't know what size house some people have, but
I've been known to screw out a bulb of 5.
oh Lord, have mercy. You need to be an skate.
Well, so if I could, Siobhan, so we focused a lot on air conditioning because it's 50 to 75%. Lighting does help.
Oh, wait a minute. I think Siobhan, are you speaking for some reason? I can't hear you.
Sorry, I said I just want to remind everybody out there to do what you can do within obviously your control to to combat the rising cost of everything. To be quite frank, I mean, I go to the grocery store and my grocery bill is competing with my CUC bill, so it's everywhere, and it seems to be worldwide. To be fair, and on that note, use less dryer, use more lines, use more inside dryers, turn it off.
Yeah.
So you ladies have a good day.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So there's some excellent links here. I'm going to give you guys again some of these. I mean, these are good questions, and for me, I think that it's not that there's going to be a magic bullet, like changing all your LED lights is going to save you hundreds of dollars. It's that every little thing helps. So Natasha says quarterly servicing of your AC unit and annual servicing of appliances also helps. Check if your units have shade coverage or sits in direct sunlight, like the actual condenser unit, I think is what it's called on the outside. That makes a difference as well. But Natasha, I love that you talk about appliances because we forget appliances should be serviced. I have a refrigerator. I swear I need to kick it to the curb, but I'm not ready to do that yet because it still works. But one side of it gets like the frosted, gets the, what do we call it? Like frosted ice or whatever inside the fridge. And the guy's like, this shouldn't be, you've got to have, get your appliances serviced. Go talk to appliance doctor. They got a good deal for servicing appliances. But again, if your appliances have a problem and you don't know it, and they're not working as well as they should be, you're wasting electricity without even knowing it. Nichelle, you're good for time?
I'm fine.
All right. So listen, I want to share this with you. I'm sharing all my business here today. Y'all gonna know exactly what Sandy is spending her money on when it comes to her household, because of course, CUC, the last time Nichelle was on here, I don't know if this is in your slide, but you guys were talking about the Emporia energy system. And I was like, oh, that sounds like something we need. And I messaged Martin. I'm like, oh, let's get this. And he's like, we have that already.
I remember that. That was awesome.
That's when you got a husband in IT, honey child. He just takes care of these things. You don't have to worry about it. But look at this. I'm going to share this with you all. Okay, so this is my household. And these are the things that we have connected. So someone said to me, I'm going to see if I can increase this a little bit. Someone said to me yesterday, oh, Sandy, can you buy me one of these? And I was like, it's not quite, buy me a plug. It's not quite a plug. This actually has to get installed on your panel. So I'm sure he would have had, hold on a second now. Let me check Amazon. Oh Lord, I hope I don't say
anything. On Amazon, but I know, so just so you know, I think Cooling Pros is also a licensed distributor of the Emporia on Island. I don't know if there's any other local distributors, but I know they are.
Yeah.
But you can also buy it yourself and have an electrician install it as well. Yes,
this is something, it's not just a plug. This is something that you need. It goes on the panel and then individual appliances get plugged in and whatever. They by the way, if you have an electric vehicle, they actually have the Emporia EV chargers as well, which allows you to like monitor the charging of vehicles. And you know what the best part about those are? You can actually turn off it from your phone, from the smart app. So somebody can't just come and plug in and be sitting there getting free charge off of you. You decide whether it's actually like live on or off, which is pretty cool. All right, so here's my usage. And you got all kind of, you can look at graphs, you can do all kind of stuff at management, notifications, whatever. So it shows my total usage, and then it looks at individual things. Look at what's at the top of that list using 32%. You see that right there? The dryer. Isn't that mad? Because here's the thing. The dryer only gets used like once a week. But that shows you how much the dryer, and you know what? this dryer is a gas dryer. So I'm wondering, why is that so high? Anyway, these are the things that you just don't know. You don't understand how much your appliances actually use. AC on the data room. I'm sorry. The AC in the data room uses more than dryer. My bad. So the AC in the data room, see how in real time these numbers are moving around a little bit?
Yeah, it changed. And Sandy, they also sell smart plugs. I can't remember who made the comment earlier about having timers, but you can buy smart plugs, from Emporia, and basically you can operate through your phone that they turn off at certain times.
Mm-hmm.
Energy vampires. We talk about things like having your chargers plugged in and a lot of things plugged in that you're not using.
Yeah.
You can set up a timer on all of those if you have smart plugs.
Yep. So, I mean, this is an eye opener. The data room, I completely can understand because this is like data room computers, and it has to be maintained at a particularly low temperature at all times. So I can understand why that's taken up more than anything else in my household. So we have the dryer, AC compressor number 1. We've got an ice machine, the refrigerator, air handler, water cooler. And then he has it organized by kind of location. So here's the office, right? Office printer, Marlon's computer versus my computer. Oh, Lord, I'm ashamed to say that his computer doesn't use anywhere near. Look, his computer is 4% of usage and mine is 17%. But you know why that is? I have an excuse. It just went up 18%. Oh, my God. That's because I have what is the equivalent of a gaming machine, but I don't use it for that purpose. But it's still a high-end processor. It is running 24/7. I don't turn off. Occasionally, if it starts doing something weird, I'm forced to restart everything, but I don't turn it off. So I've got multiple cameras connected for this show. I've got 2 big monitors, if you guys could see. I've got a big monitor over here, a big monitor over here. So again, I can appreciate why my computer is using 18, now it's down to 13%. And his is really low at 3-4%, right? The entertainment center. It's not in use right now, but you notice it still says 1%. No one even has it on. But remember, these things are pulling no matter what. There's air handler number 1. That's at 0% right now. That must be, I don't know which air hand. I don't know how he has the name, but obviously that's probably the master and it's not even on. So you see, it's not on, so it's pulling nothing. I bet you and this is your argument for when you talk about, does it matter if I have it on or off? If I turn it on right now, even if I had it at 78 degrees, it's not going to be at 0%. It's going to be pulling and utilizing some power. So turn it off, folks. Don't be fooled by what you heard in the past.
I love that you showed your computer was at 18%, because I think people really underestimate how much a computer can use depending on the configuration.
Yep. That's for sure. And then we've got the data room rack. That's at 21%. The PCs. It's so funny because the data room PCs are not even using as much as my one singular PC, which is kind of crazy. We have a compost machine. That's not on, so that's not using anything. Gigi's fan is off during the day, so that's not using anything. Front porch lights, well, they're obviously off during the day. But you see, you can do your thing by day. You can look at usage for the week. You can look at the month and the year. You can do all sorts of things with the management. You can go right down to the second, the minute, right? So, folks, it's worth it. Monthly peak, 15-minute demand on my kilowatt hours. So this stuff is, it might be more than you need in terms of information, but if you really want to see your usage, trust me, get this and you'll be able to monitor it based on the time of day and everything, right? So you can even see like early morning hours. This is Wednesday. As we go through the day, you can see how the usage goes up. Let me see if I can do this by, let's see. So day 3 p.m. it kind of dips. Can we do it by the day? Yeah. So you can do it by the hour, by the day, by the week. So you can see, weekly how you're doing, or even looking at your month to month. And this, I bet you anything, would be right in line with what the CUC graphs look like. So for example, look at December. You see how December, the month is kind of low, low, low. And then as we get into May and June, see how it kind of starts to go up. And there was June of last year as well, June of 2022. So my July consumption, 902 kilowatt hours per month. And then it talks about consumption, the usage is the same, and the monthly peak is right there. So listen, these things are helpful.
And
It'll give you an idea
they can also
of how
get
you're doing
on Customer Connect if they can't, if they don't have the ability to get the Emporia just yet. What they can't get is lovely detail you showed by appliance. They can get this monthly and daily and weekly information. But appliance data, that's purely Emporia, which is fantastic. It's priceless, really.
Yeah. No, I mean, it really shows you exactly what happens. This is like my real-time usage right now. So yeah, no, it's amazing. I don't look at this kind of stuff too often, but I think that if you want to utilize something like this, it talks about like, here is time of use management, how you can set your smart devices to automatically adjust consumption as your rate changes throughout the day. So there are options on how to do that. You can schedule stuff. You can switch things off and on. Folks, it's worth it. It's not super expensive to get this done. Like I said, you will need obviously an expert to help, but it gives you management of your energy use in your household at a completely different level. We don't have the power thing connected, but even for solar panels, we have another app that will allow us to like monitor those things and stuff as well. So, right. So rainfall, again, CUC has put together a nice little demonstration here for us to show you how all these things make a difference. Outdoor temperature, when you have rain, how, the amount of rain that we get really does matter and really does impact us. We had a little bit of rain last month for a couple days. So I guess that was a little bit helpful in keeping the temperatures down a little bit.
It was a lot lower than last year, though, in terms of the amount of rain that we got for June compared to last year, June. That's why you see that red line is so much lower than the blue for June.
Wow. Jim says CUC is also a business, which some people may not understand. So they have to make profits just like any other business. There's no utility company is run based on charity. And even government-run utility companies around the world, they may not be trying to make a profit, but they're certainly not in the business of losing money. And when they do, they're less reliable. They're going to shut off power during peak hours and at night and all sorts of stuff to try to conserve where they can. So Perla says, good morning to everyone. To those that have window tints, how often do you service the AC unit? My apologies. For those who have window units, how often do you service your AC unit? If not serviced often, like 3 months, mold will build up and make you sick. So again, speak to your AC technician. They're the best ones to look at the conditions of your house, the age and condition of your units, and tell you really how often they should be serviced. Like my guy has us on a schedule. He knows and he'll message, hey, it's time for your servicing. Come and get it done. So Paul has a question. Paul joining us from Bermuda. Morning, Paul. Does CUC give a discount if a bill is paid on or before a given date?
Not at this time. That would be something that we could investigate with the regulator. So any changes to our rate structure should go through the regulator first. And to be honest, no one receives a discount. No one. And
not even staff.
Not even staff, not our CEO.
Some people think that one of the benefits of working with CUC is that you get free electricity.
Mm-mm. No.
So Cameron says, I remember getting cussed too for leaving the fridge door open. And I still cuss when people do that even today. Yeah, these are little things that make a difference. Noli, good morning, says Sandy. If it's the fuel that's a problem, then it's a government problem to resolve. For years, government said they were going to work on reducing fuel costs, have not seen it yet. Well, I think the reality, Noli, is what can government do? Government doesn't own the fuel companies. And so, they can't tell, I mean, within a margin, OFREG does monitor what the fuel companies, like how much they mark up. But CUC is buying their stuff in bulk, and they try to, offset that and try to, what's the term that I'm looking for? Where you invest. Oh gosh, there's a specific term for it. Like you try to save money by futures or something.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So we do have a program where we invest in basically stock options, but sorry, not stock options. Sorry, like calls and puts. Basically, it's trading to try to put a band on a cap on the fuel price that your customers would experience. It's hedging. Hedging is the term.
Right. Hedging. That's what I was looking for. So they try their best to try to find the best pricing on fuel, but the market is what the market is. I was seeing something just the other day talk about fuel in the US is about to go up again. Lord Jesus. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Miss Sandra.
Hello, how are you?
No, man. Just a couple of questions on the behalf of CUC. I've known people that pay $1,300 and Pacific would cut off everything, including the meter box, and wasn't on the island. Nothing running. And up to now, they hadn't given him an explanation no more. And it was a legal meter fee.
A legal meter fee, $1,300?
Yeah, and one more thing. The buildings that is carrying like 3-4 transformers, like 200 feet away from your home, they're carrying like what, 36,000 volts or 72,000 volts? I don't know. But if you're paying $260 and you're not in that range, your meter will go slow. But as long as you are around, and this is proven, CUC can't tell me no. So your meter inclines to speed up with just your fridge on and nothing else on in the house.
Okay, so thank you. So let's talk about the meters in general. I know that when you guys swapped out to smart meters, there were some questions about how this works. Sorry, we got a caller here. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Miss Sandra. How are you?
Oh, Miss Mary, I'm wonderful. How are you?
Right now, I'm at the boiling point.
Oh gosh. Why?
Yes.
Is it related to CUC?
Oh no, I've been listening to your program, not very much of your program. I checked the other program that's on the morning program on from the other station, and they were basically discussing the same subject. Yeah. One of the things that we need to do in Cayman is if we expect to save energy, if we expect to have sustainability, if we expect to maintain our trees. I have had the most disgusting experience this week that I've had in a very long time. Down at the senior center, we have a playground for children. A couple of weeks ago, somebody came there, cut down the two bearing tamarind trees and a grape tree that was sheltering the northeast corner of it. And one of the trees fell over and knocked down the stone wall and two sides of the chain link fence. And when I spoke about it, tried to report it, I was told, well, one of the trees was the other lady's side of the fence, and I should go to her. And then I could bring a civil suit against her if she didn't fix the tree stump.
Oh
That
my
was one.
gosh.
I had
Wow.
during the Diamond Jubilee,
Mm-hmm.
we planted something between 700 and 900 trees in the island.
Mm-hmm.
7 of them were 100 trees between on the line between us and the National Trust, the Mission House. I went there one morning; they were leveled. According to
Oh my gosh.
the report, these are 11-year-old trees. According to the reports, well, and I went everywhere. CUC got blasted, public, everybody got blasted because I went to their offices. I didn't send no message. And the story was that the government was going to put lights on the parking in the back because people were doing drugs in there and they want to put 10 light poles in there. I thought, why don't you put the poles on the other side where you have already cut down 2 tamarind trees and 1 tree? Well, you know, the pole was over here and was easy. It was a whole long story. And that seemed to have, I don't know if it's died in natural death or it's just in the bay until I think I forget about it. Day before yesterday, I couldn't go there anymore on our own because Bodden Town has been infested with a clientele that God knows where they're coming from, but you don't feel safe anymore. I've lived in this town 76 years and I have never felt threatened. But when I go to that senior citizen center, we never go up, we don't go there anymore at night, and we don't go there on our own. We would go to do, if one of us had a day off or time off, we would go and do some stuff. So somebody, one of the members is going to meet me there, and I go and I'm sitting there. We have a children's camp going there, and Jackson has a camp for children. It's a 2-week thing, and for children you can't afford to go to all the other places that they have. And so that finished at 2:00, and we figured we'd go there at 4 to do some work we needed to get done. I get there, sitting in my car waiting for the other person to arrive, and I noticed there's one there with small children. She's gathering them up and moving out, and I thought, I hope she didn't do that because of me. But then I hear, open the car window, and I hear a chainsaw, and I thought, where's that saw? What's going on? I got out of my car and they had massacred the tree. That's the only word I can use for it. The tamarind tree and the guinea tree that was loaded with fruit, the limbs are on the ground. Guineps at $3.29 a pound in costs. Even them little poor children on Bodden Town can afford to go down there to buy guineps. The tree was loaded. The last tree, the 8th one, which is planted there, this little guy is up in it with a chainsaw, and I don't know if they understand the liability. This is government's property. If he falls out of that tree with that chainsaw and gets any kind of damage, somebody gonna pay, and they dearly. There was no one else there but him in the tree, cutting the mahogany tree down. I managed to save one limb of it. I chased him down out of it, managed to save one limb. He said, well, that's what he was told to do. I said, I don't know who told him. He got in his, finally, he was going to cut some more, but he got in his little car that he had there and putting chains on, and he left. Yesterday morning, I was there, and his boss is there. And I said, I walked over to him because I don't believe in beating around the bush and pretending that I don't know what's going on. I go, I said, are you responsible for this massacre of the trees here? Boy, he let me both barrels loaded. In the end, he told me I couldn't stop him. Public Works had given him the right to go and do it. And, they was going to get cut down. And that one limb that was left of that mahogany tree had to go. I said, well, the governor's coming up here and I will be telling her what happened to the trees in the park. That shelters. We have a beautiful set of equipment. There's some of those trees were there when I was a little girl. Beautiful set of playground equipment there that the Darts put in for us when we were doing the development there. We bought that piece of land. That was my father's piece of land, so I know what was on it. I don't have to ask anybody what was there. And with the playground equipment, there's a beautiful place. The playground equipment is fenced in. It got nice white sand around it so the children can play there safely. Well, I was told, you're old, you need to go home. You need to go home and read your Bible and say your prayers and get ready to die. Well, got some work to do before I die.
Mm-hmm.
And protecting that place up there is one of them. I have trees in that yard that are there that is 100 years old plus. If they touch them, I can tell you, Sandra, one of us is going down.
Mm-hmm.
I might go to heaven, but one of us is going down.
Mm-hmm,
This has gone far enough in Bodden Town. So along comes a community officer, and he's going to help justify. They have government has a policy, a new policy, and they're cutting all the trees down because of the hurricane. I said, which hurricane? Well, if we get a hurricane, you have to understand that these limbs can be flying missiles. Now, where they're going to fly to, I don't know, because there's nothing there except a piece of playground equipment and a whole lot of land. But they're going to be flying missiles. Well, I told him what I had to say up in the church hall here some weeks ago. You start driving from Pease Bay down to the end of Bodden Town, and you will have to ask where the crime is, and you will have to ask where the drug is or anything else, and you have to ask where the garbage is. Right next to the church, I went this morning to pick up my sister because we walk every morning, and she lives on the backside of the church wall. And I go there to pick her up because when I try to pick her up on the side of the road, the car would stop. 2 dogs were there they attacked my car. They couldn't attack me because I wouldn't get out. But I banged on the car this time of every day so that she could get into the car on the other side. If you go to church, you got to put up with that. When next to the church, there is a ton of old cars and trucks and old this and old that and garbage of every form under the sun. If the community officer wants to do something, he should try to get them to move that because that's going to be the flying missiles. We got a hurricane and that comes over like an island, they're going to be pitched into every house in that neighborhood. And that's a very close neighborhood. The houses are very close together. But nobody's doing anything about that. You can't go on the public beach because that has been taken over. What's not garbage is just people there that occupies it all day. You can't, the town has become, I never thought that my town would reach the level it has reached. And it is because nobody seems to care. But the idea, I don't know if government has that policy or that was just made up for me to drive me off. But if that's a policy that government has, that they're going to cut down the trees because the hurricane is coming, I can tell you one thing. It's hot now. It's going to be hotter afterwards. The children cannot play on the playground equipment now because it's metal. And when it heats up by 9 o'clock in the morning, the shade is not there. The children can't play on it. And I wonder who is making these policies and who's making these things up and wishing them down on our heads to people that don't know what they're doing. Where's it coming from? We are talking about sustainability. Let me tell you something. If you don't have trees in your yard, your house is going to be twice as hot as it was without them. You have to have your trees. Okay, so they got to trim them from under the lines and they murder them there too, but they have an excuse for doing that. But when they come on other, like a park, whoever heard of cutting down the trees in a park to the ground? Whoever heard about doing something like that? A park that serves a community in the summertime when people need to be able to go someplace and sit down. It has gone far enough, and I have had enough. I don't know what they are going to do about it because if they ever cross the line, like I tell you, we have a naceberry tree that's over 100 years old. We have a guinea tree that's over 100 years old. Yes, there are trees that need cutting, but they don't touch them. The ones that's resting on the house top, they don't touch them. Government has never come in there. When the Grace hurricane was over, we asked them for help, and they sent one little guy there one evening. He cut down the breadfruit tree. He didn't know what the breadfruit tree was, although he was on it. So we spent $1,800 plus paying for 5 truckloads to trim up, prune out the trees with the broken leaves, and come back and put them back in order. I don't understand why it is. According to the community police officer, that is a center for crime. Well, if it's a center for crime, whose fault is that? I was there. Somebody broke the window. I called them. They said, well, there's nothing they can do. I took them across and I showed them. I said, there's somebody living in the bathroom. Well, this is government's property. And you got to be careful because, there is a fine line between a criminal offense and a civil offense. And, they have, I said, but things are not made to sleep in. they're not made to live in. Why is it we have to deal with this? Now, yesterday I heard that there were masked men down in there in black, and somebody camera, somebody had seen them or something, and they, of course, national troops brought an old house from Georgetown and put that in the back of their place, and there are people sleeping in that. There are people breaking into people's houses in town and moving in and taking their furniture and putting the side of the road for the grab truck to pick up, and they move in and they own the place. What is going on in this town that we cannot get some law and order in here to to take care of some of these things? Because that's the stuff that breeds crime. They don't seem to understand. You don't tackling crime. You need to tackle the source that's breeding it. That's where you begin. But if you don't begin there, you're gonna have it sprouting up and sprouting up and sprouting up. Oh, they tell me the trees are broken. Yes, but you don't understand. The young limbs will snap off in the breeze. The big limbs won't. The young limbs snap off, and then I said, what happens after that? If you put the CUC line.
Miss Mary, we do have Nichelle does have some time commitments, so I think that what we could.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I just came in the house and.
Oh yes. But we definitely understand your concerns, and maybe what I could do is try to pay you a visit, and we can look at some of these areas that you're talking about. But yeah, we do have a guest, Nichelle Scott from CUC, is actually in the studio, and she has to leave here shortly.
I know they're trying to do something so that the electric bills and all the rest.
Yes.
I didn't know she was in your studio. I listened to the other statements, but
yeah.
That's okay, Miss Mary.
We need to do something about this. We cannot keep going the way it is going now. We need to do something about it. This thing is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And the situation is getting worse and worse. And if we don't make an effort to stop it, it is going to be completely out of control.
Thank you so much, Miss Mary.
All right, take care.
All right, my dear, appreciate it. Thank you so much. So I'll add that to my list of things that I want to look into, especially for Bordentown. Derelict vehicles and so on is another one. But Nichelle, thank you so much for your patience. And obviously, Miss Mary is very upset. It sounds like she's a good reason to be. So let's talk now about payment plans. Do we have a slide for this one? Shall I bring the slides back up?
Yeah, number 10, just I'll touch on this one before I head out. And just before I touch on this, I think Gareth Scott had put a comment on there asking about solar. Gareth, we talked about that briefly at the beginning of the session. For us to implement utility scale solar, we have to respond to a request for a proposal from the regulator. And we hope that they're going to do that soon. So we are waiting for that go ahead. In terms of financial assistance, that was a question that we've received from other people. So just to make sure everyone is aware, if you go to the CUC website and choose customer service, under there you'll see this square, the one that says payment options and payment arrangements. We offer payment extensions, which basically allows you to ask to pay your bill at a later date. And we offer payment plans. So if you've accumulated a balance, you want to pull that together and pay that off over like 2 months or 3 months. So that those are options that we offer. And there's also prepay. If you have a balance and you want to still maintain service, sometimes if you want it to go longer than a payment plan arrangement, will let you prepay. You do that, prepay electricity will let you do that. So there are options out there. They are all electronic and there are rules around it. So this site right here that I'm showing you has an article on it. So for example, if the electricity account is not in your name, you can't request an extension or a payment plan, because you can't have someone else requesting to increase the balance on an account, for someone else's behalf. And we see that a lot with landlords and tenants. If it's still in the landlord's name, and the tenant wants an extension, the landlord has to give the permission, because it's the landlord who will be left with that cost if that tenant does not pay. So if the electricity is not in your name, you have to get the permission of whoever is the account holder for these requests, because that's only fair. They're the ones that are going to be responsible for the cost.
Okay. So the bottom line, really, folks, is that there are options available to you. So you can certainly reach out to CUC if you have any additional questions on that front. So very good to know. All right. Anna's asking about whether or not it's cheaper to run central AC or have the individual wall units installed. Again, I would recommend, can we talk a little bit about the audits that are available, how people can get like maybe a home audit to explore some of these options, like, you know, what else they can do to reduce their usage and consumption?
So we're still in the pilot stage of offering an audit. We have not yet transitioned to offering that full time. But if someone has a significant concern, there was a customer on earlier that I'm going to go back and look at her bill, Miss Miller. If you're moving from, I can't remember what she said, to $1,500.
It was like $600 to $1,500.
That's not normal. We are going to do our best to help you troubleshoot and figure out what's happening there. But at this point in time, we don't offer formal audits, but we do help, you know, try to diagnose if you have questions. In terms of formal audits, there are a couple of companies out there that do offer that, but we recognize that sometimes the cost is, you know, it's a bit high. So we are working to have that service available. That's why right now we're pushing that customers really consider installing the Emporia device because it helps.
Okay. All right, beautiful. Nichelle, thank you so much again for coming on the program and, you know, asking or answering the many questions and kind of going through some of this. I think that this was helpful. We had, maybe if we could do one or two quick ones that were on WhatsApp. Let me see here now. So we have one caller that said, oh gosh, where did that message go? Oh, yes. Good morning. Does CUC take into account the fact that a percentage of the power that they sell is generated by the sun when calculating the fuel costs for their customers?
Yes. So we actually received that question quite a bit, but in different formats. So showing that chart earlier for fuel cost charge, there was also a line item for renewable energy charge. So as our renewable energy increases, our fuel cost is going to decrease. That's why there's this line item for renewable energy, and that's the portion of your energy that's coming from the solar farm or any excess energy being provided from rooftop solar. That is then being sold on to the customer, and that means you're paying that much less in fuel, if that makes sense.
So whatever way that you guys can utilize solar even now, you're doing so and passing those cost savings on to the customer.
Absolutely. Sorry, it broke up a little bit on my end, but yes, we are passing on those cost savings as much as we can, and we hope more to come.
All right, Paul says, check for phantom loads, i.e. electrical devices that have a standby mode and they're still using electricity current. Johan says, Nichelle is a fantastic ambassador for CUC. She's measured, knowledgeable, and super professional at all times. An example of the Cayman core management team at CUC. He goes on to say how many companies in Cayman develop, train, employ, and promote that many Caymanians. On that note, Gareth's question about renewable energy, we've actually done an entire show on that before, but we know that we'll continue to have this discussion, because one thing I always say when it comes to the dissemination of information and, you know, just having a good discourse, you need to do it more than once. You can say something once and 95% of the people never hear it. They don't know it. And they're still peddling in misinformation. As many times as we've said, fuel is a pass through. There's still people out there who believe that CUC is marking up the fuel. The last caller mentioned that CUC is doing some kind of, you know, finagling with your electricity, and they might be trying to do something to your bill. Folks, when you get something like the Emporia system, there's no question about what CUC is doing. That's on your specific devices. You get your electrician to put it on, and that's not connected to the CUC meter. That goes direct to your panel box, and you will get to see in real time what your usage is. Do not be fooled into believing that CUC is trying to steal from people or hoodwink you guys out of power when you have the technology at your fingertips to be able to see it for yourself. Seeing is believing. Good morning, caller. Last call for this segment. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Morning, ma'am.
I am not complaining because some months my light bill is a little bit lower. Some months it's a little bit higher. It went down by $3.50 this month from last month, which is not nothing because I can't buy a half a gallon of milk, which I buy because only me drink milk.
Then get your patty, though. I think you can still get your patty.
Not a bread, but I ain't complaining. But so far, that's what I'm saying. I am poor, and I'm begging nothing. I am poor, and I don't have these humongous. Never ever had these humongous light bills like what people be complaining about. Because if it go that high, I have to go back to. I have electric stove and stuff. I have to go back to firewood and kerosene lamp because we're not gonna be able to pay it because we are pensioners and our pension not going up no higher, and the bills are going up. But so far, my light bill never used to exceed $400, and I got a lot of stuff that go by, and I got window unit, AC too, and like the guy was saying, because somebody told me that mustn't had cut the AC off in my AC. I just put in a new one on the 14th of last month because that one was giving problems, and I have that on 7 to 7 all day, all night. Sometimes the guy put that in a week ago, and I cut that off. But they said it's better to keep it running, and it's an energy saving AC. It cuts on when the room get hot, and then when the room get cool enough, it cuts back off, and it keeps. And I tell my husband, do not touch the dial. But my light bill, it used to be between 100 knots to 200. These last couple of months, last month it was $4 less, $6 less. $6 less 400 this month. Now it gone on because last month it was 394 78, I believe it was, in this month it's 391.20. It going down by 350. But if my bill ever go up to 600-700, like I say, I don't think I'll be able to afford it. So I am not really complaining. I just keep my hands crossed. My house is solid concrete. Even though if I could put the ceiling concrete, I would put it, because I'll never put sheetrock back in anything. I want it was enough of sheetrock for me. I got solid concrete for this house. It may be ugly, but it is firm. The walls are all blocked and poor and everything, so I'm not really complaining. So I hope that mine don't go no higher than at least say $400, because I won't be able to pay it back. It's going down by $350 this month versus last month. So,
all right, my dear. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And like they say, keep your fingers and toes crossed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't try to abuse. I don't try to abuse nothing, because I was taught that don't fly your hat high and you can reach it.
All right, darling. Thank you. All right, Nichelle, thank you so much for coming on the program today. We'll see you again, I'm sure, very, very soon. Some useful information, folks. Make sure that you utilize, the Smart Connect access. You can get daily reports even from CUC. If you don't have the Emporia system, you can get daily reports on what your usage is. And if you see it going high, then you know you need to cut back. You need to do certain things. There are tools that are available to you. You just got to use them. So, yeah, simple as that.
Thanks so much for having me, and I really appreciate the engagement.
All right. Thanks, my dear. Nichelle Scott, again, Director of Customer Services and External Communications at Caribbean Utilities Company, coming on and facing your questions directly. All right. Beautiful. All right, folks. We have about 27 minutes remaining in the program. CUC already has prepaid meters, Shakira. They've mentioned that before. So they do have them, and you can sign up. You can switch your current postpaid to prepaid right from the website. Go on the website and check it out. I understand it's super easy to do. They do a reading and then they switch you over. But yes, that is already available. That's why we do these programs, because like I said, We've mentioned it before, but you might not have been here, Shakira, to catch that program. You might not have heard it. So CUC is committed to coming on at least once a month to tell you what they're doing, what's going on, what services are available, all that great stuff, so that everybody can be in the know. Isn't that wonderful? So somebody sent a question about what to do if, says, good morning, what if 3 people are using the same light because 2 people in one room and she don't pay when the bill come? Well, first of all, honey child, when you're sharing accommodations, whether it's a room or whether it's a room or a, what do you call it, a shared apartment or whatever, you've got to know what you're getting into first and foremost. So ensure that listen, if it's a room or an apartment, try to get your own meter. Because when it's a big house and you're trying to split it, you're always going to be looking sideways at your housemates going, well, you cooking more than me, and you have the light on more than me, and you watch more TV more than me. You can't gauge anything based on that. I guess if you get this Emporia system and every individual person has all their appliances connected, you could sit down and work out who's actually using more. But who's going to be micromanaging and doing all that? I don't know. I suggest you find accommodations that have a separate meter. Don't be sharing no electricity with people. Or you just agree. If the bill comes and it's $500, you split it 3 ways evenly, end of story. And you're not nitpicking about who took a shower longer than the other person and you got 2 minutes more of hot water. You just split it evenly and that's it. Because there's really no way to figure out, unless, like I said, you get like the system, exactly and precisely what people are using. That's my recommendation. Okay. Let me see here now. Okay. I gotta go by planning.